Hey guys, what's up? This is Joe Mainman, and I decided to test my survival logic in some kind of survival video from this YouTube channel called Be Amazed. Anyway, let's see what this has to do.
Do you have what it takes to escape an erupting volcano?
I don't know.
How about deadly whitewater rapids?
I don't think so.
Surviving life or death situations takes bravery, intelligence, and the ability to think logically, even under extreme pressure. Join me now on the ultimate adventure, where everything you know about problem solving and survival will be put to the test.
Oh my. Be amazed.
Number 10. Saltwater spot. Picture this. One day you wake up on a beach with no memory of how you got there, with no civilization in sight, and the sun beating down on you. You'll need to find a water source fast. Of course, there's the sea, but salt water's no good. Luckily, you find an abandoned shack which contains some handy items. A large empty paint can, another smaller can, a baseball, a roll of aluminum foil, an old pair of sneakers, and some other assorted items. Which one of these additional items will be most useful when combined with the previous items in obtaining some drinking water? A, an old sponge, B, a plastic bag, or C, a handful of tiny pebbles?
I'd go with option B, the plastic bag. Really, I think bags are pretty useful for a lot of things. It could be a good bag too, B.
In this context, the sponge is useless. The pebbles may have some use in building a filter, but you're still going to be left with salty water. And you're on a beach. Surely they can be found lying around elsewhere. That leaves the plastic bag. You can fill the larger paint can with seawater until it reaches about halfway up the side of the smaller one, which sits inside. Next, you could take the plastic bag and pull it tight over the large can. Taking the laces from the sneakers, you can tie the bag in place. Finally, you can place the baseball on top of the plastic bag directly above the smaller paint can, creating an indentation. Leaving this setup in the sun, water will evaporate and condense on the plastic bag. From there, the indentation will guide it to drip into the smaller paint can. Voila! You've got a little supply of drinkable water.
Wow.
Number 9. Losing your cool. Even with water, this beach is far from a vacation. The temperature skyrockets to 110 degrees Fahrenheit.
Whoa.
Even the shade inside the shack is too hot to handle. You need to cool down. But some nasty sunburn takes going back into the sun or sea off the cards. As for peeing on a rag, dehydration has plugged the tap, so to speak. Which item can you use to cool down? A, aluminum foil.
Yes, I think
B,
so.
water from your paint can setup. Or C, the old sponge.
I'd say option A, the aluminum foil. Your only water is way too risky. I'd say A.
A seawater sponge bath will leave your burnt body in agony, and your clean water is far too precious to tip over your head. That leaves the seemingly unlikely candidate, aluminum foil. True survival experts know that metallic foil is a fantastic way to cool a shelter. By covering the walls and roof of the shack in as much foil as possible, you can deflect some of the sun's heat, driving off heat stroke a little longer. Number 8. Urgent departure. After a slightly cooler night,
Why do they gotta shoot this at so many times? It's pretty annoying.
And the silver main guards are Bellbog's indestructible shield.
Maybe I should download this. Like, they can't.
you wake up to find a note pinned to the shack wall. It reads, "Salvation lies north. Beware, the most violent tribe in the northern hemisphere is headed to your location from the south. If you're still there when they arrive at 3 p.m., you'll be dead meat."
Oh my.
Looking at your miraculously functional watch, its hands read 2:45. You need to head north. But which tool can help you figure out the right direction in under 15 minutes? A, leftover aluminum foil. B, a stick and 2 pebbles.
Maybe, but
or
no.
C, your watch.
Your watch. I think it could actually help. Some have compass roses built in, Maybe it can help even if it doesn't have one. I'd say C.
While it has many uses, aluminum foil isn't much use for navigation. The stick and pebbles could be used to track the movement of the sun and calculate where north is, but that takes more time than you've got. Your watch, on the other hand, can calculate north immediately. As the mysterious stranger noted, you're in the northern hemisphere. Knowing this, all you need to do is hold the watch horizontally, lining up the hour hand with the sun. Drawing an invisible line in the middle of the angle between the hour hand and 12 will give you the south. The opposite angle is north. So get going. Number 7. Volcano Blues.
Oh my.
After a day's travel, you come across an abandoned town. You find a motorbike with the key still in it, parked outside the town's
With the
church.
full tank of
But
gas,
before you
possibly
can search
too.
for more supplies, the nearby volcano erupts. In the distance, you see it. There's no sign of glowing red lava, but a huge cloud of black smoke is hurtling out towards you. In a minute, it'll reach where you now stand. Do you A, take the stairs to the top of the church's spire, B, head down into the church's basement,
seems
which is
safe.
filled with vampire bats,
Yep, risky,
or
but
C,
safest.
take the motorbike and ride away full throttle?
I'd go with option B. Go to the basement. Despite the bats, at least it's the safest bet. So B, the basement. B.
Volcanic eruptions that spew out huge clouds of smoke and dust rather than lava are devastating. Dust reaching hundreds of degrees in temperature can form thick clouds hundreds of feet high. Even if the church's spire was the tallest in the world, you'd still be scorched. Volcanic
Oh my.
dust can also travel at 200 miles per hour. Difficult for even the fastest motorbikes to outrun. Your only
Yikes.
option is to lock yourself in the basement with some fanged fiends behind a firmly shut door. Number 6. Going down. Unfortunately, the basement's dangerous too. The room's quickly filling with dust from outside,
No.
making it hot and hard to breathe. Not to mention the hundreds of vampire bats on the ceiling. Which choice will be most helpful in preventing you from suffocating and overheating in the dust? A. Disturb the bats, getting them to fly around and create some airflow.
I don't
B.
think so.
Lie as flat to the cooler floor as possible. Or C. Take your shirt off, hoping the bats don't bite you and give you rabies while you cool off.
I'd say option C. Take off your shirt. Really, I think taking your shirt off is the best option. So C.
Waking the bats probably wouldn't harm you, seeing as vampire bats are much safer than their reputation suggests, and only 0.5% of them carry rabies. But creating airflow of this same dust-filled air won't help you. Lying on the cooler ground might be comfy, but the dust will still choke you out before you know it. Taking your shirt off would be much more than a striptease. You can actually hold it over your mouth and nose to act as a filter, reducing the
Yeah,
amount of
maybe
dust
in
being
news that
inhaled.
you can use
Number
it as a
5.
filter.
A nasty fall.
Ooh,
By
my.
some miracle, you find a secret passage in the basement and escape the dust. You enter a cave and stumble into a subterranean
my.
river, which carries you off. Eventually, you fall down a large waterfall
Whoa.
into a much deeper underground river, surrounded by rocky cave walls on both sides. You try to swim onward, but the force of the waterfall is creating a reverse current,
Oh, no.
pulling you backwards with an intense force. You're barely able to steal a breath. Your body is aching, and you'll drown if you don't act fast. Do you A. Swim down into the crashing water?
I think that
B.
could work.
Give all you've got and try swimming out of the waterfall's
You're
pool?
too tired.
Or C. Swim to the side and try to climb the walls?
I'd go with option A. Swim down the under the reverse current, so get deeper and get back up.
Swimming onward isn't an option. The current is meant to pull you backwards upright, and your body is aching from exhaustion. The chances of directly overcoming the force of a waterfall is negligible. And even if you could grip the slimy cave walls, you'd have to do the impossible and escape the current first. While going downward seems counterintuitive, going as deep as you can will lessen the force of the current, and swimming further downstream this way is your best bet of overcoming the deadly pull. Number 4.
Help you escape.
Abandoned hope.
Ooh.
Eventually, the river spits you out in a murky swamp. You narrowly escape a population of alligators so large you're forced out of the swamp into an
my.
abandoned theme park. From the water-damaged buildings, rubble and debris blocking most routes through, you can tell the place was recently flooded. The park's pond sits in the middle, with strange indentations in the mud of its banks. The rest of the park is an impassable mess. There are only 3 paths available to move on. A. Swim through the murky pond. B. Pass through the Tunnel of Love, which has become home to several groups of Asian giant hornets.
don't think
Or C.
so.
Squeeze through a narrow passage in the rubble, disturbing the yellow and black striped 3-inch long venomous spiders waiting there.
I guess I'd go with C. It's the safest option. Who knows what's in that water? And with the indentations, could be gators. So I'd go with option C.
Considering the park was recently flooded next to a swamp full of alligators, it's quite likely that a few may have been swept over in the process. The indentations around the pond are telltale signs of an alligator presence, so best not risk becoming dinner. As for the Tunnel of Love, Asian giant hornets are among the deadliest insects on the planet, with venom that can dissolve human skin. Avoid at all costs. Which leaves the tight squeeze past the spiders, which thankfully are golden orb weavers. They're non-aggressive and their venom is harmless to humans, allowing an easy passage. Number 3. Tower trouble. After traveling north for a few days, you found yourself in a large open field. In its center lies a narrow tower, home of the mysterious stranger with a hatred for people who can't do math. Weird, I know,
Man.
but this man is living on his own in the middle of a remote field. He's not exactly a socialite. He says you must figure out the height and feet of his tower. It's 3 p.m. and the sun's out. He gives you 1 minute to solve the puzzle or he'll shoot you for trespassing. What do you use to solve it? A. Your shoelaces, B. Your spit, or C. Your shadow?
I'd go with option C, your shadow. You can see how many times bigger the tower is than you, seeing your own height. So
There
C.
might be some complex way that shoelaces could crack the puzzle, but you certainly aren't getting them off your shoes and into puzzle-solving action in a single minute. Spitting might give the stranger a sense of how frustrated you are, but little else. But in a sunny, open field at 3 p.m., both the building shadow and your own will be easy to see. Standing next to the tower, noting exactly how far your shadow reaches against the towers, you can walk to the end of the tower's shadow, noting how many times your own fits inside it. Simply multiply your own height in feet by that number, and you've got the height of the tower.
36.
Now that you've passed his riddle, you can tell him to go and buy a tape measure. Number 2. Wild welcome. Your joke didn't go down too well. As the mysterious stranger welcomes you into his tower, he shuts the large oak door behind you,
Oh my.
locking you in there. The weird stranger's tower is empty, apart from a sign that says, Freedom, pointing to 3 separate tanks you can access below you. You'll starve unless you do something, so your only option is to enter one of the tanks and pray there's a route out. Which tank will it be? A. Filled with 3 very aggressive territorial porcupines whose spikes have been tipped with venom from the world's most toxic cone snail.
Oh my.
B. A hungry dairy cow with the face of a polar bear. Or C. A pool containing a huge 10-foot-long Humboldt squid, which the man brought up from the deep sea a year ago. These squids have a reputation for aggression towards humans, and their tentacles bear hundreds of suckers, each lined with razor-sharp teeth, to grasp prey and drag it towards their large, sharp beak.
I'd go with option C. I mean, hopefully the squid will be dead by then, hopefully. So option C.
First of all, stay away from the tank of porcupines. Cone snail venom is so complex, there's no anti-venom to thwart it. As for the polar bear, it might have some trouble walking on its hooves, but its sharp teeth and raw strength would be enough to make you its snack. As frightening as it seems, the Humboldt squid is your best bet. We've never kept one in captivity, and few deep-sea creatures manage to live longer than a few weeks there because the environment is so different to their deep-sea habitat. Hop into the tank, move its dead body aside, and head for the underwater exit. Number 1. Let it slide. You think you're free, but on your journey, another mysterious stranger appears and reveals himself to be the evil supervillain, Double Negative. At gunpoint, he forces you to ride one of 3 water slides, colored red, blue, and yellow. 2 of them lead to a deadly vat of sulfuric acid, while one leads to paradise. All he tells you is this: ride the red, and you won't not be dead. It's a lie to say the blue isn't dissimilar. The yellow doesn't have less in common with the red than the blue. Which do you choose? A, red, B, blue, or C, yellow?
Man, this is an insane puzzle. I guess I'll go with the B, blue. Really, I'd say the blue slide is safest, so B, blue.
Riding the red, you won't not be dead. This double negative means you will be dead. Yellow doesn't have less in common with the red than the blue, meaning it does have more in common with the red than the blue. And apparently it's a lie to say the blue isn't dissimilar to the red, meaning it's a lie to say the blue is similar to the red, which means the blue is not similar to the red, but the yellow is. This means the red and yellow are deadly, while the blue is safe. Down the slide you go to the bottom where... oh, an empty beach. Doesn't this seem familiar? Did you survive this tricky riddle challenge? How many did you get correct? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.
Well, guys, you see, I aced it. Didn't get a single one wrong. Guess survival knowledge really does come in handy if you're someone like me. It's really not the wilderness I have to fear, it's the wilderness that has to fear me. Well, see you guys in the next one. Man, but I hope I never gotta go on a death vacation like that. See